So I'd like to see this with a 1 to 5. It might make it easier and make that.
So scoring 1 to 5 with no weighting.
I think
I'm good
so.
with that.
And the only other question I would ask about this is kind of what we started with. I just wonder about the last one on there. I guess it's applicable, but the last item on there, it says references. And I see in the proposals, they say, here's who we've worked for, but I don't know that we've done anything to say, did they do good work for you or not? Has the city done anything of that nature?
I can provide a response to that. That's common, most of all of our professional contracts. We've utilized a few approaches in response to that. One of those approaches is to look at the scope, size, capacity, influence of who that are. They doing work for Detroit? Are they doing work for Battle Creek, Jackson, Lansing?
Okay.
As opposed to
But you haven't called.
three what some other 3 squares.
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you're saying.
But we're kind of looking at it and saying, okay, that's our size, or that's a utility similar to us. Another method is to call those individuals. Some of the challenge with that, even for folks in my seat, I can pick up the phone and say, I'm James Baker, I'm the utility director of Kalamazoo. It's a pretty concise title and it gets right to the point. I haven't had a lot of people call me back. I haven't had a lot of people answer the phone.
Okay.
To be honest with you, the challenge with UPC members is, hi, I'm Mayor Anderson from the city of Kalamazoo. I'm a utility policy committee member with a group of townships and cities together, and I'm on the rate consultant. They've already hung up on you, sir. Yeah, you're calling somebody in an off here, calling the finance director of Detroit. They're not taking a call. So, to be honest with you, email maybe something, but just to set everything in place to say I have to get phone call conversations with some of the people on that. I would not hold my breath on that. I would recommend to look at that as reference of work, to look at that as reference of size and scope, that utility, in that nature. And the option's still there. I just want to present some challenges with that.
Thank you for your insight.
One other question while you're talking, James. The numbers and the data that we saw from the city were very close on the 2 pages. And to some points made today where there was, I don't know that we would ever want to go diametrically opposed to what the city is, somebody that would work with the city, but was it close in your mind in terms of the consultants?
Yeah, certainly, and I can provide some background on that. You saw in your packets, or adjacent to the packets, there was a recommendation from the city, had some data with it. That was presented. Essentially, that was our response to. We were asked kind of our opinion during the last UPC meeting, and that essentially serves as that's our answer. I've got to kind of walk that back a little bit, because the contract doesn't ask for the city's recommendation. So I want to be careful that that was perhaps a little foul of what the contract would allow. So I do want to acknowledge that. Another perspective and background, as the city engaged with this, we're very deliberate and delicate. As we moved through this, we had a moderator during the interview, as you saw. A lot of the follow-up conversations with our team and final recommendations were extremely close. And I think I would have full support of our work groups that have put this all together, that we would be happy to work with any one of those consultants. I think that's very, very close in terms of their ability, their professional abilities, and we would be very happy to work with either consultant that the UPC chooses. So there's full support. The city team's got full support with whatever comes out of this process. We'll be very happy with any further you choose.
Thank you.
Libby?
Yep.
And I really do appreciate the work you guys did and the information. I think that's helpful for us as other background information. But in the draft memo to the city commission, it looked like your scoring was cut off. It looked like just the way it was formatted, it got cut off. Can you resend that to us so we can see all the numbers?
Yeah, I believe the comments were cut off, so all the numbers were full.
Okay.
It just some of the comments. So our purchasing policy requires, a pretty objective approach to a lot of things. And so if you make a recommendation, you've got to provide a sentence of why. And so those sentences of why, justification statements, if you will, were kind of chopped off. And, perhaps there's value in that. We kind of didn't necessarily need to show all that, other than to show that there is justification statements available. If the UBC would like the justification statements, we can provide that. But I also have to recognize that, we're already foul of the contract by having supplied that already. So maybe we could rely on UBC decisions, both.
So just a question, looking at this, and here it was Stantec was number one, and then post-interview recommendations. So then you just, it was Raftels was 4-3. Is that how?
Correct. So the way the city views this process is, this is similar to all of our UPS selection processes. So we use a score grading system to kind of narrow the field. And at that point, we said, okay, we've got a recommendation to Raftels and Stantec, and we'll then go into interview. The city uses the interview as the final decider. So coming out of the interviews, you had to pick one. And so the scoring gets us to the interview. The interview is the decider. That's a little, again, that's not what's written in your contract. And I would recommend that you follow the contract. But that's just some background on the city's process, and that's kind of how we got there. So those individuals, a tally 4-3 of Raftels and Stantec, that's just individual decisions taking into account kind of their experience during that interview process and what their final recommendation.
Okay, so,
This might be a big part of our agenda at our next meeting.
yeah, and so I'm going to throw a problem out there. So in July, I have a 10 o'clock union grievance meeting on July 14th. Oh, please, I'd rather be here. But, so, and we appointed me to the selection committee. Do we meet at 8 and start earlier and be done by 9:30? Do we
Use an alternate?
use an alternate for that meeting? Actually, are you anticipating that I might have that conflict? I reached out to Mobility and he's available July 14th. He participate in my place. I mean, we just voted on who's on the selection.
We can change that, and we could change that at the next meeting even, I would think. So should things change and you're available, you could be here. If it didn't, we could request that an alternate be present, should they be needed.
Okay.
Would that make more sense, or do you want to appoint, we can change?
I think we're,
What would happen if you top loaded the agenda for
we could put
the
this
rate
at the,
consultant and you step away and you Mark step in and finish the meeting on your behalf
sure,
as an
okay,
alternate?
okay, let's do that. So who's revising the rate scoring and distributing that?
Where does this come from?
That came from me.
Okay.
I can, if you give me direction, I can change it, or I can give it to the person with vision of how we could do this in a more effective manner with the 1 to 5.
I think if you've got is it Excel spreadsheet, if you've got
Yeah.
that, make the appropriate revisions as discussed and send it back out to us.
My only question for you, and you should look at it, that's why I'm giving it to you, it's just, I'm thinking to myself, and it's totally up to everybody, won't make a big difference, but the last item on there, it says references. And the first one says experience. I just wondered, do we need the last? We can whack it, we can consider it for now, I just don't know what you're gonna do different, but I could be wrong. You know, you look at the first item, the second item, it's
And
pretty
what
much
okay,
the same plus.
I mean, based on James' comments, we're not gonna get references anyway, so maybe if it's meaningless.
On or off, that doesn't matter, I'll change it, I'll get it to all, I'll get it to Wendy, and, or, your staff will send it out.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm good without it, based
Good
on
without
the number one, the experience.
That's just my
They
thought.
do seem the same, okay.
And we'll go 1 to 5 on there, I'll get rid of the waiting.
Say that 5 is the best.
Yes, 5 is the best,
There's
I'll
some
do
people
that.
are rating that aren't here.
Yes,
And we can't
will do.
choose the name spot, right?
No.
Yes, so I will take that action and provide it to city staff.
Awesome.
City staff, and then they'll get it out to the selection committee.
Yes,
and-
we can distribute.
And say,
Or if you prefer, I'll send it to you, I just don't want to have a conversation on.
sure, that not,
Mhm.
it's fine, and then the request in the email with it is to have it come to the July meeting with the school.
Assessing Stan Tech and, Ross Dallas. That's the other one.
So from the interviews, and we have the RFQ for the proposals.
So we should all have these, and can you provide these to the new? Well, it'll be Jim and Jeff, but to Jeff, I would get,
Correct.
okay, if you would, please. Jim should have that.
They were sent out in PDF format too, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Actually, I should send this to you, Libby, so you can tell Jeff what to do, right? You've been appointed to this committee, and please, or do you want to just talk to Jeff?
I don't,
Yeah, if you come from the chair,
I
or
can
we
send
can.
it out.
I'll get it to you. If you just, that way they know what we're doing, like Jim, he's not here, so he gets it, he wants, if they just get it, he's not. What?
Okay. All right, we're ready to move on. Okay, committee, we'll start with desk comments. Glenn,
Hi, Rich Pearson, Regional Fishing Director. I appreciate your growing pains of learning to call before you walk. The contract spells out what you're doing, and you're doing your best to follow. So one comment I have is that Abbey Road, the farm. So, the city's preparing a document for that $500,000, whatever that is. And then the contract allows the UBC to look at the cost recovered. So while the UBC doesn't say that document's good or bad, if there would be a thing, the water tower situation where you want to recover $200,000 from specific people, that would need to be part of that agreement. So again, the contract, somewhat difficult to understand how it's going to be implemented, but there is a cost recovery or expansion that does fall to your purview. Maybe get that document at your table. Don't need to worry about it this time because it's cut and dry, but that's the practice of seeing those documents prior to their implementation. Sounds good.
any comment?
Just pleased with the discussion and the way this is going. It's going well.
Happy decision.
No comment, thank you. Okay. All set? Mark? Or Anna?
Diligent.
Any comment, Mark? Anna? Anyone virtual? Don or Dexter? Joe, any comment?
Good.
Uh,
I'm all set. Thank you.
Any committee member?
I have one
Okay,
quick question. I appreciate Director Baker's comments about staying in line with the contract. But I do want to point out that at our last meeting, we kind of did say we wanted to see the process that the city did and watch it run its course to help us learn how we would facilitate looking for a rate consultant. So I appreciate the understanding that it may have been out of bounds on the contract, but I think the intention was good and it came from discussion at this table at the last meeting.
I have one comment and it's not related to water. It's related to sewer. And yesterday, Judge Lipsey ruled in Ashmo's clerk's favor and upheld her decision that the petitions were insufficient to take the bond to a vote. And so the township can proceed with USDA phases 1 and 2 for $30 million, about 1,000 sewer connections in the future, and in some neighborhoods where we have monthly, failing septic systems, people calling, what are you gonna do? So this is it's been a very heavy lift, and it's lighter now today. So it's a big deal. Some of you are aware of some of the issues we've had, and
Who does your legal work for that?
the legal work was, well, we had some in-house with Jim Porter, and then we had Beatty Schultz out of Lansing. He helped us win on our truck route case. He's helped us on a number. We've won 3 in a row with Lipsey. Maybe I should retire. That can't continue. So,
He's done this year, I think, right?
yes, yeah. Anyway, that was big news for us.
Awesome.
And any other comments? Our next meeting date is July 14th, then at 8:30 a.m. And we've exhausted the agenda and we are adjourned.
Yay.